She's still sleeping next to you every night. She still says, I love you before she hangs up the phone. And she might already be gone. Not physically, not yet. But emotionally, psychologically, she checked out weeks ago. And the terrifying part is, you felt it. You just didn't want to believe it. There are 5 specific behavioral shifts that happen in a woman's psychology before she physically cheats. Most men never see them, not because they're not smart, but because nobody ever told them what to look for. By the end of this video, you're going to be able to read a situation most men are completely blind to. And whether your relationship is fine or falling apart, this knowledge changes everything. But stay with me because sign number 4, that one hits different. That's the one men always look back on and say, that was the moment, I just didn't see it. Welcome back. Today we're going deep, and I mean deep, into female behavioral psychology. Specifically, the 5 hidden signs that a woman is emotionally and physically drifting toward infidelity. This isn't about paranoia. This isn't about becoming a controlling, suspicious guy who checks his girlfriend's phone at 2 a.m. This is about pattern recognition, about understanding how the female mind processes dissatisfaction, attention, and desire before those things turn into actions that can't be undone. If you've ever had a gut feeling something was off but couldn't explain it, this video is going to give that feeling a name. Let's get into it. When a woman stops seeking your validation, your compliments, your reaction, your opinion, she hasn't become more independent. She's started seeking it somewhere else. Here's something most dating coaches won't tell you. Women in healthy, emotionally invested relationships are constantly seeking subtle validation from the man they're with. Not in a needy, desperate way, but in small, consistent ways. She shows you a new outfit. She mentions something she accomplished at work. She sends you a funny meme just to see if you laugh. This is called approval-seeking behavior, and it's rooted in attachment psychology. When she's emotionally bonded to you, your reaction matters more than anyone else's. Your approval is the one she's chasing. Now pay attention, because this is where it gets dark. Imagine a guy named Marcus, been with his girlfriend Jade for 2 years. Great relationship, or so he thought. One day, he notices Jade has stopped showing him her Instagram posts before she uploads them. She used to always ask, "Does this look good?" Now she just posts. And she started dressing differently, better, not for date nights, just randomly, on a Tuesday. Marcus noticed but told himself she was just becoming more confident. That's healthy, right? Wrong interpretation. Lethal mistake. They celebrate this shift as their partner becoming more independent. They give her space, back off the compliments, feel good about not being needy. Meanwhile, she's posting those outfits for someone who is giving her that dopamine hit of validation, someone who notices. The moment you notice her approval-seeking behavior drop, you lean in, not out, not in a desperate way, in a present way. You become hyper-aware, you notice things, you comment, you make her feel seen, because if you're not filling that psychological need, she will find someone who does. That is not a theory. That is human behavioral science. It's not that she's always on her phone. It's how she's on it. There's a specific behavioral pattern that separates normal phone use from something far more alarming. Psychologists call it micro-concealment. It's a series of small, almost unconscious behaviors designed to create privacy around communication, tilting the screen, laughing at something but not sharing it, taking calls in another room when she never used to, putting her phone face down the second you sit next to her. Here's what's important. None of these behaviors alone mean anything, but when you see 3 or more of them appearing together in a short span of time, in a woman who didn't used to behave this way, your gut is not lying to you. There's a guy I'll call Derek. His girlfriend of 3 years, smart, beautiful woman named Priya, started carrying her phone into the bathroom every single time she went. Derek didn't think much of it. Everyone does that. Then he noticed she changed her passcode. She'd never had one before. When he asked about it, she laughed it off. My coworker was messing with my phone, so I just set a lock. Reasonable explanation, clean, easy, and Derek believed it. 6 weeks later, he found out she'd been emotionally involved with someone from her gym for 2 months. The phone wasn't the cause, it was the symptom. They confront her about the phone directly. Big mistake. The second you make it about the phone, she gets defensive, you look controlling, and you learn absolutely nothing except how to have a bad fight. The phone is a decoy. The behavior pattern is the signal. Stop focusing on the device. Start paying attention to the emotional temperature of your interactions. Is she guarded? Is she emotionally unavailable in moments where she used to be open? That's what you're tracking. The phone is just where the evidence lives. The truth lives in her energy. When someone is carrying emotional guilt, especially around betrayal, their behavior toward the person they're betraying becomes polarized. They either overcorrect with excessive affection and generosity, what psychologists call guilt compensation, or they emotionally detach to protect themselves from feeling the weight of what they're doing, emotional dissociation. Some people oscillate between both, which is the most confusing experience for a partner. This is why so many men say, things were actually better for a little while before I found out. That's not a coincidence. That's guilt compensation in action. A man named James had been with his partner for 4 years. Suddenly, she started initiating date nights more often, buying him small gifts, being more physically affectionate. James thought the relationship had turned a corner. He told his friends they'd figured it out. 3 weeks later, the affection vanished completely. She became distant, irritable, unavailable, snapping at small things, picking fights that went nowhere. James was whiplashed. He had no idea what was happening. What was happening was simple and brutal. She was processing her own guilt by swinging between overgiving and withdrawing. The relationship wasn't improving. It was ending in slow motion, and James was the last to know. They ride the wave of the good phase and ignore the crash. Or they blame themselves entirely for the cold phase and become desperate to fix things, which pushes her further away. Either response misreads the situation completely. When behavior becomes erratic without a clear external cause, no job stress, no family crisis, no obvious emotional trigger, treat it as data, not as proof of anything, as data. Your job is to stay grounded, maintain your own emotional stability. Don't chase the warmth when it appears, and don't collapse when it disappears. Your steadiness is both a test and a signal. This is the one that breaks men in retrospect, the name that was there the whole time. But here's the part no one tells you. It's not that she mentions him, it's how she mentions him. There's a concept in behavioral psychology called normalization priming. When someone is developing an emotional connection they feel guilty about, they often unconsciously introduce that person into their regular conversation, not to confess, but to desensitize themselves and the people around them to that person's existence. She's making it normal before it becomes significant. She's building plausible deniability in real time. Oh, my coworker Ryan said the funniest thing today. Ryan from my gym recommended this restaurant. Ryan thinks this movie is really good. Ryan, Ryan, Ryan. Each mention alone means nothing. The pattern means everything. Think about this. A woman named Alicia had been in a relationship for 2 years. Her boyfriend Tyler started hearing the name Chris, a guy from her book club, maybe twice a week, always casual, always with a slight smile that Alicia probably didn't even know she was making. Tyler brushed it off. He wasn't the jealous type. He trusted her. That trust wasn't a weakness, but ignoring a clear behavioral pattern was. By month 2, Chris had become someone Alicia talked to more than she talked to Tyler. Tyler's mistake wasn't trusting her. Tyler's mistake was ignoring what his instincts were already registering. They either say nothing and fester, or they overreact and accuse, both of which are losing positions. Saying nothing lets the situation develop unchecked. Accusing puts you in the role of the paranoid, controlling partner, which she can use to justify her own behavior. See, he doesn't trust me. He's suffocating me. Casual, confident curiosity, not interrogation, not accusation, just presence. Oh yeah? Who's Chris? And then you watch. Not the words she says, the micro expressions, the slight pause, the way she looks slightly away, the way she over-explains or under-explains. The body speaks a language that the mouth can't edit. This is where emotional intelligence becomes your superpower. The scariest sign isn't anger, it isn't coldness. The scariest sign is indifference. Relationship psychologist Dr. John Gottman, one of the most respected researchers on relationship stability in the world, identified contempt and indifference as the two greatest predictors of relationship dissolution. Not conflict, not even resentment, indifference. Because conflict requires caring. You only fight with someone whose opinion still matters. When a woman stops getting emotional about your arguments, when she no longer raises her voice, no longer pushes back, no longer fights for the relationship during disagreements, that's not peace. That's emotional withdrawal. She has internally decided that the relationship is no longer worth the emotional investment. And when a woman stops investing emotionally in the primary relationship, she is, consciously or not, creating emotional space for someone else to fill. This one I want you to really picture. A man named Kevin and his girlfriend Sarah had been together for 3 years. In the early days, they fought passionately about real things, about directions they wanted to go in life, about stupid things too, but the fights were alive. Then one day, Kevin raised his voice about something, doesn't matter what, and Sarah just looked at him, calmly, like she was watching a stranger have a meltdown. "Okay," she said, and walked out of the room. Kevin felt relief in that moment. Finally, the drama is over. She's maturing. That was the night Sarah stopped being his girlfriend in every way that mattered. The paperwork just hadn't caught up yet. They interpret her emotional withdrawal as personal growth or maturity. They feel relief instead of alarm. They stop trying to engage her because the fighting is over. They have fundamentally misread the room. When she goes quiet in the relationship, not peaceful quiet, but absent quiet, you need to create genuine emotional reconnection. Not a lecture, not a "we need to talk." A real moment, a weekend away, a vulnerable conversation you've never had, something that cuts through the noise and reminds her, on a neurological level, why she connected with you in the first place. Novelty reactivates attraction. Vulnerability reactivates intimacy. And action, not words, is the only currency that spends in this economy. All right, you've made it here. And this is the part I really want you to hear. Because everything we've talked about, the phone, the name, the guilt gifts, the indifference, those are all symptoms. Here's the actual disease. Most men lose women not because another man showed up. They lose women because they stopped being present. Not physically, emotionally, psychologically. They got comfortable. They stopped making her feel chosen. They stopped being the most interesting, most alive, most aware version of themselves in the relationship. And here's the brutal psychological truth. Women don't fall out of love because they found someone better. They fall out of love because they stopped feeling something with you. The other man isn't a replacement. He's a symptom of a void that grew slowly, quietly, invisibly, while you were busy assuming that love, once established, maintains itself automatically. It doesn't. Love is not a state. It is a practice. It is something you build and rebuild constantly. Through presence, through pursuit, through making her feel like the relationship is alive. The men who keep remarkable women aren't the richest. They aren't the most physically dominant. They are the most emotionally intelligent. They read the room, they adapt, they stay curious about the woman they're with, even after years. They create emotional experiences that no one else is offering. That is the real secret. Not a checklist of warning signs, not surveillance, not suspicion, presence, awareness, intentional investment. If she's already gone, this knowledge helps you understand what happened so you don't repeat it. If she's not gone yet, this knowledge is a mirror. Use it. And if you're single right now, use this to build the kind of relationship from the start where she never needs to look elsewhere, because you never stopped seeing her. So here's my question for you, and I genuinely want to know which of these 5 signs hit closest to home? Which one made you go quiet for a second? Because I think a lot of you watching this aren't just here out of curiosity. You felt something, and that feeling means something. Drop a comment below. Tell me sign 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. No context needed if you don't want to give it, just the number. I read all of them. And if this video gave you something, a new way of seeing, a name for something you've been feeling, a piece of knowledge that protects you, then hit subscribe, because this is what we do here. No fluff, no sugarcoating. Just the real psychology, applied to real situations, for men who are serious about understanding how this all actually works. I'll see you in the next one.